Hello, this is Freeman once again. A quick response to Ozzy's video. First of all, I'd like to, on a personal level, inform Ozzy's early debates on Stickam. We, before, we have went through a few talks, basically about Islamic subjects, and I wish we can begin that once more now that summer's coming up again. If and when that would occur is up to Ozzy to decide. Now, moving on to the actual topic at hand, being women, but primarily wife-beating, I will use my copy of the Quran, which is translated by Mohsin Khan, and I shall read the verse as it is stated in my copy. Surah 4, verse 34, "Men are the protectors and maintainers of women, because Allah has made one of them to excel the other, and because they spend to support them from their means. Therefore the righteous women are devoutly obedient to Allah and their husbands, and guard in their husbands' absence what Allah orders them to guard, being their chastity and their husbands' property. As to those women on whose part you see ill conduct, admonish them first, next refuse to share their beds, and last beat them lightly if it is useful. But if they return to obedience, seek not against them means of annoyance. Surely Allah is ever most high, most great." Some of these are used in parentheses, such as first, next, lightly, basically describing how and when beating should be done. I like to thank Ozzy for being much more realistic in the translation. I've always thought that his interpretation of the Quran and Islam is much more erudite and researched than most Muslims I've spent time with, including non-Muslims as well, because he does not use a very revisionist argument that it is not the word is not beat them, but to strike them. I mean, to separate from them, because of 14 translators who I've come by, none of them use the term to separate from them. It is always to beat them, whether or not it's lightly or whether or not it is last, or if it comes after any sequence of events. That is usually different. However, since there is a consensus of tafsirs which state that it is to be lightly, not severe, and should be as last resort, I will agree with that, although on most occasions I do not typically resort to tafsirs, since a lot of them sometimes disagree or contradict. However, there are certain problems that are projected in wife beating in relation to how it's done and what a Islamic society will do about it. In Abu Dawud, Book 11, number 2142, the Prophet says that a man will not be asked as to why he beat his wife. And in Abu Dawud, basically the number before that, 2141, the Prophet said that women have become emboldened to their husbands, so he gives permission to beat them. Now this is the 2141 supports the normal translation of Surah 4, verse 34, in that lightly is not included. However, even giving that it is included, that since a man will not be asked as to why he beat his wife, this shows that the discretion of how and when a man will beat his wife is left completely up to the husband, and this leaves a whole scheme of interpretations that could be taken by the husband, whether it suits his means or not. And since no standard of what is lightly and what is not is really given, even though some tafsirs, but not all, very few, say that it should not break the bone. However, even without breaking the bone, some beatings can cause some serious, even irrevocable harm to a woman. And just as well, Muhammad did conform to this Quranic verse of wife beating, not necessarily beating, but at least causing pain. In the hadith that Ozzy described, where it's according to him, pushed Aisha's chest, which caused her pain, and there are some discrepancies over whether or not it's pushed or beat. However, even taking into account that it is pushed, the main emphasis is the fact that it caused her pain, which in itself is a quite intolerable under Western standards. Also, my main concern about this is not necessarily the beating of a wife, but also the implication of it. It implies that men have supremacy over women, and this is not only in this verse, but also in other verses and other chapters of the Quran. For example, in Surah 4, verse 11, which deals with inheritance, the male shall have the equal portion of 2 females. Or in verse 424 and verse 33-52, a man is permitted to take women as sex slaves outside of marriage, and that is really the implication that it gives. Just as well, in court testimony, in Surah 2, verse 282, a woman has half of a testimony of a man. This can be implied from the fact that when you can call the witnesses, you can either call the 2 men, or if 2 men cannot be found, a man and 2 women. Also in Surah 2, verse 228, men are a degree above women. In verse 223 of the same chapter, women are a tilth unto you, so approach your tilth as how you will, and then to a piece of land, which I personally find degrading. While it may be interpreted other ways, this clearly, for me and for Westerners like me, not necessarily the Islamic revisionists such as Rashad Khalifa, who, by the way, included beat them, this does not seem at all in any way supportive of the women equality movement of Islam. And since that's the topic of this video, I shall conclude my little lecture.